Hi, welcome to Zgadgetreview. And more information about the PS5 keeps rolling in. It isn't all good. So, the latest news on the PS5 is that it won't support a feature like Quick Resume, like Xbox Series has implemented in their next gen consoles. This isn't a huge, earth shattering deal. This just adds to everything else that I'm going to talk about in this video. As you know, or maybe if you don't know, Xbox Series is going to have a feature that's called Quick Resume, which means that you can suspend games, multiple games, I think it's up to 6 games at once, that you can go in and out every single time you want to change games. And the idea of Quick Resume is that you don't need to do a cold boot from one game to the other. So what does this mean? So you can pause the game wherever you are and go back to the other game wherever you stop. So you don't have to look for a safe spot in order to, shut the game off and open a new game. The feature is supposed to make it a lot easier to be able to jump between games without wasting time, right? It's just the fact that you're going to be able to just go with the quickness between games. PlayStation 5 isn't going to have a feature like that. For the PlayStation 5, you're going to have to do what you're used to doing, which is finding a safe spot, getting out of the game that you're playing right now, and then go open a brand new game and wait for the new game to boot up. Why this isn't a huge deal? It's because the SSD on the PS5 is fast enough where it can boot games rather quickly. The quick resume feature makes life a lot easier when you're jumping between games. Now, the reality is, how many games do you jump in between? Probably not that many, probably like maybe 2, 3 tops. I know I usually sometimes play between 2 and 3 games at once. And I mean, obviously not at once, but at once where I, stop somewhere because I can pass it or I just got tired with the game and I want to play something else. And so the feature of Quick Resume is very attractive because I can play between those 3 games that I want to play really quickly and not having to waste any time if I am limited on time when it comes to gaming. Of course, this is something that the PS5 can update at some point. But if you've been seeing my videos on the PS5, a lot of the things that the PS5 is giving us is we will update it later. We will update it at some point. It's coming up. It's coming. Don't worry. Or it might come. We might do it. And so this makes me feel like the PS5, I wouldn't say rushed, but that the software portion of it isn't there yet. So maybe that hardware, they spend a lot of time on the hardware implementation and getting everything ready and good with thermals and speed and all those things. Well, I wouldn't say speed because reports are that the Xbox Series X beats the PS5 when you load games, and that came from GameStop. And I will come back to that in a little bit because it relates to all this. The trend here with the news that I've been covering about the PS5, in the commentary that I've been making, every time that I've talked about the PS5, I say that it feels like we'll do it later. We'll update it later. We'll patch it later. Or maybe we'll come later. There is a trend. So we have, when they announced backwards compatibility, they said pretty much that every game was going to be backwards compatible except a list of 10 games. That's it. But they did warn you that if you were going to play last gen games, backwards compatible games, and to make sure the game worked before you spend any money on buying any add-ons for the game. And for that video, you can look it up here. And they didn't have like a list of games that were actually going to work on the PS5. It was, these 10 games aren't going to work. Everything else will work, but test it before you do it. Oh, and Ubisoft, you can see that video here, came out with a list of, what was it, 8 games, I think, that aren't going to be backwards compatible with the PS4. With the PS5. Meaning that list that the PS5 gave us about the backwards compatible games is useless because they said 10 games, and now we have 8 more games from Ubisoft that we can add to that list. Reports are that there are people who have been testing games, and that and the list is a lot bigger than that. It's a huge list for that, and I will link that article in the description section, because I never talked about it, but it's there. The information is there, and you can read it if you want to. Then it came out that the PS5 was going to be able to change the speed of the fans in the console, depending on the game that you were playing, and depending of the strain that game was putting on the console. They could make the fan work harder, or work slower. But they did say on that interview, and that video is here, that they were going to do it once people got the games in their hands. And again, why aren't you doing this before the game comes to my hands? Why do I have to test it for then you to update it? It doesn't make sense, right? So there's another, hey, we'll do that later. Then they told us expandable storage isn't going to work at launch. And for that video, you can see it here. Yes, there's going to be a lot of see that video here on this video. Again, why isn't going to be working later? Am I giving you my money now, or am I giving you my money later? I'm paying what, $500 for the PlayStation 5 with disk drive, and $400 for the PlayStation 5 without a disk drive. I want my product to work now. Like, I want the thing to work now. And it's not that the PS5 doesn't work, don't get me wrong. It's not that the PS5 is broken and useless. It's just that it has a lot of features and a lot of things to say later. They showed us the UI. And for that video, you can see it here. For the UI, again, they showed us a space that they did say was not going to be available at launch. Will be coming later. Again, why are you showing it to me if it's not available now? Like, what's the point? And then the video that I just did, which you can see here, where you are not allowed to download games into an external storage. You are going to be stuck with either paying Sony for cloud storage or downloading your games in your internal SSD and deleting them whenever you run out of space. And I get it. You have to make money. Storage is a revenue stream. But why can't you give us a choice to put our games on an external hard drive? But to not give a choice to people, it just sucks. And then, again, that can be something that they can fix later. But who knows? And so that's the problem. The problem, my issue right now with the PS5 is that there is a lot of later features. We're going to do these later features. It's going to be available later. And to go back to what I talked about a little bit at the beginning of this video about the loading times on the PS5, is that the PS5 has its own SSD, customized SSD. On paper, it's supposed to be faster than the SSD on the Xbox Series X. Yet the tests that GameSpot made show that the Xbox Series X loads faster on the games that they tested than the PS5 does. In some instances, the difference isn't huge. So, that's why I said I don't think it's a huge deal, because the difference isn't that big. But it's still there, the fact that it's loading slower. That's the fact. But these are all gen games who might not be optimized, to work on the new SSD. And maybe the next gen games or the upgraded games will work better and load faster than the Xbox, or on par with the Xbox. But again, we don't know. because Sony hasn't really given that much information about their console. And that is a big difference between Xbox and Sony. Is Xbox has been upfront with everything and be like, this is what we have, this is how it's gonna work, this is why you should buy our console. Sony has said, this is what we have, and we're not gonna show you any of it. We're just gonna tear down the console and show you how it's built, which I thought it was really cool. We're gonna show you the UI, okay, and show you that there's a feature that is not available yet. They've told us expandable storage isn't going to work at launch, it's going to work at a later date and an update. When is a later date? Again, who knows? So that's my issue with the PS5, right? And I'm not saying that the Xbox is the best and it doesn't have its own issue. This video is about the PS5 and the fact that it feels kind of half-baked. And I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that's fair to the consumer who's spending so much money on your console to tell them just buy it and then wait. Do you feel that the PlayStation 5 is a half-baked console? Do you see this trend of we'll do it later that I'm describing to you, or am I just nuts? Let me know in the comment section. That's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. And thank you very much for watching.